So, what does it really mean to be a hard worker? Is it the person who's always first in the office and the last to leave? Or is it about something else entirely? Today, we're going to unpack the really surprising difference between just being busy and actually being productive. We'll look at what the global data tells us about who works the most, who produces the most, and why those two things, well, they're rarely the same. Okay, so let's just start with a quick thought experiment. When you hear that phrase, hard worker, what's the first image that pops into your head? Is it someone burning the midnight oil, just fueled by coffee? Or is it maybe the person who gets everything done by 4 p.m. and then heads for the door? Just kind of hold that image in your mind as we dive into the data. All right, so if we define hard work purely by the time you spend on the talk, this map right here gives us a pretty clear answer. It shows the average weekly hours people work all around the globe. And honestly, the numbers are kind of staggering. In Asia, you've got Bhutan leading with nearly 55 hours a week. In Africa, it's Sudan in over 50. And down in South America, Peru tops 43 hours. These are some seriously long work weeks, and by this one metric, these are the world's hardest working countries. So that map seems to give us a clear answer about who's working the hardest, right? But here's the really crucial question we have to ask. Does all that time spent actually translate into more value being created? Does logging more hours automatically mean you're getting more done? Well, I think the answer is going to surprise you. Now let's look at a totally different metric, productivity. This is basically how much economic value a country creates for every single hour someone is on the job. And yeah, the leaderboard looks completely different. At the very top, we have Ireland, generating an absolutely incredible $162.50 of value for every single hour of work. Right behind are Norway and Luxembourg. Do you notice any of the countries from that longest hours map? Yeah, me neither. And this side-by-side view, it just shows the paradox perfectly. On the left, you've got the map of the longest hours worked. And on the right, the map of the most value produced per hour. I mean, the difference is just so stark. The regions that are the darkest on one map are often the lightest on the other. It's a really powerful visual that proves there's this massive gap between being busy and being productive. So the huge takeaway from all this data is this. Putting in long hours does not equal high productivity. It's just not the same thing. The numbers are crystal clear. The countries where people work the most hours are not the same countries generating the most economic value for that time. Now, this isn't about judging one is better than the other, but it's about recognizing that they represent two fundamentally different mindsets about what work even is. So, why is there such a huge disconnect? Well, it really comes down to a fundamental difference in mindset. Let's break down these two opposing philosophies, a culture that values effort versus a culture that values efficiency. So on one side, you have the effort model, and it's all about the inputs. It values the time you put in, the visible struggle, your stamina to just keep going. The key metric here is physical presence. But on the other side, you've got the efficiency model, and that's all about the outputs. It focuses on leverage, working smart, and the actual value you create. It's not about how long you work, but how much you actually accomplish. And this difference completely shapes how we signal our dedication at work. In a culture that values long hours, staying late is how you show you're committed. It's almost like a performance of your loyalty. But in a productivity-focused culture, commitment is shown through the quality of your output and the impact of your work, all done within your normal hours. Now, these aren't just abstract ideas, right? They are deeply embedded in cultures all around the world. So let's look at some real-world examples of how these different values play out. In a lot of these effort-focused cultures, you see this especially in parts of East Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East, there's this really strong emphasis on being seen putting in the hours. Leaving the office before your boss? That's often a huge social no-no. Overtime isn't just about finishing up your tasks, it's a very public signal that you are dedicated to the company and to your team. And this can be taken to a really tragic extreme. In Japan, the cultural link between presence, obligation, and group harmony is so incredibly strong that they actually have a specific word for death from overwork, karoshi. It is such a sobering reminder of the ultimate cost of a culture that just relentlessly prioritizes time spent over well-being. And look, this isn't just unique to Japan. In China's tech world, the infamous 996 culture, that's working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, was seen as a badge of honor for years.
And in countries all over, from Mexico to India to Turkey, there's often this deep cultural premium placed on visible effort, on going the extra mile, where long hours are really the clearest and most obvious sign of your commitment.
Okay, now let's look at the flip side. In a productivity-focused culture, the script is just completely reversed. Leaving work on time isn't seen as a lack of commitment at all. In fact, it's often viewed as a sign of efficiency and excellent time management. It means you planned your day well and you got your work done. Simple as that. This German saying just perfectly captures that mindset. It translates to work is work and schnapps is schnapps. In other words, there is a very clear, very respected boundary between your professional life and your personal life. When you're at work, you focus intensely, but when you're done, you're done. We see this most clearly in Northern European countries like Germany, Scandinavia, and, as we saw in the data, Ireland. In these places, efficiency is a core cultural value. Meetings have clear agendas, and they actually end on time. There's a high degree of trust and autonomy given to employees, and achieving a healthy work-life balance isn't just some nice perk. It's a societal priority because it's believed to lead to better, more sustainable results in the long run. So, we've seen the global data. We've looked at the cultural mindsets behind these two very different approaches to work. Now, let's bring this all back to you. So I want you to think about your own workplace, maybe your team, or even your country's culture as a whole. Where does it fall on this spectrum? Is commitment shown by staying late, or is it by delivering incredible results on time? Now, there's no single right answer here, and most cultures have a mix of both, but just understanding the difference, knowing whether you're in a system that rewards effort or one that rewards efficiency, that's the first step. Because only then can you really decide what kind of worker you want to be.